Moving Forward Together Public Forum. I just want to go over a few housekeeping things for this evening to keep all of you safe. You will be able to ask your question right from your spot. We'll be able to hear you. This way you don't need to go down the bleachers. There are restrooms right over by the pavilion in the back, so please feel free to get up whenever you need to. What I'm going to ask is, we are not going to take the time as far as, because it's not an official board meeting, this is a public forum that is representation from the Brewster Central School District. I'm just going to ask you when you come up to please regulate yourself. If you could try to keep it to 3 minutes, ask your question or share your thoughts, and we'll talk a little bit about how we're going to be doing that in a minute. And then please just, wait and get until everybody gets a chance to speak. And you can come up as many times as you want. And of course I'm hearing thunder. I don't know why I'm hearing thunder right now, but I'm pretending I'm not.
Maybe
it's the wind? Okay, all right. I just want to make sure everybody's even safer. All right, so the purpose of this evening is for us to hear you. We hated that we were on Zoom the other night. We know we have to be for safety precautions for everybody, but we want to see you, we want to hear you, we want to hear what you have to say. We sent out a letter last week as far as some things for us to think about moving forward, but the purpose of tonight is to hear your thoughts, to respect your thoughts, to help us think about next steps as we all move forward. So no one's going to lecture to you tonight other than me at the beginning just to set down the ground rules. We want to listen. So with me this evening, I'm just going to do some introductions. I have my Assistant Superintendent of Business and Finance and Operations, Mr. Victor Carlson. He will be taking notes for us this evening. So I make sure that we capture all of your thoughts and concerns and things for us to think about as we move forward. Also, we have Dr. Brent Harrington. He is our Director of HR. Also, Dr. Michelle Gosh. She's our Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction. So she will be talking with us tonight as well about the curriculum piece. And I have Mr. Eric Grutzner, one of our Board of Trustees. Our Board President, Ms. Sonia Masika. Board Vice President, Ms. Carrie Cunningham. Board Trustee, Mr. Glenn Niles. Board Trustee, Mr. Scott Seaman. On the far end over there, we have Dr. Elizabeth Kennedy. She's our Director of Pupil Personnel Services. And with her is her Assistant Director, Mr. Paul Stolacci. And also over here, we have Ms. Christian Hernandez. She's the Vice Principal of Wells. Let me just look around to see who else. We also have Ms. Nikki Horler, who is our Principal of Brewster High School. I thank them for coming out. The administrators will also, some of them will be coming out on Saturday morning as well, because we all want to hear you. The other thing I want to mention tonight that was mentioned to me by Jim Trelaw, our Director of IT, is we are working really hard to try to live stream it from Jim's cell phone. So if it doesn't work for folks, if you're hearing, I can't hear it, just let them know that this will be recorded and posted up on the website. So you'll be able to see yourself and anything that we said that you want to go back to and that you might have a question about, please feel free to reach out to us. The other thing I'm going to ask is that we not attack staff members or personnel or individual community members. If you have something that you're really upset about with an individual in the district, please reach out to me. You can reach out to Dr. Harrington. He is our Director of HR. You can reach out to your principal if there's something that is really, really upsetting you. We are in constant communication. Okay. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to, I don't know if there's anything else, Dr. Gosh, is there anything you want to add? Oh, I'm so sorry. All right, Mr. Dean Berardo, our Athletic Director. Thank you, Dean. I'm sorry. And then Mr. Trelaw is our Director of IT. He's in the booth. And also with our Director of IT is Chris Whalen. He's also one of our IT major helpers. So thank you. Thanks for making this happen. Oh, and also Glenn Fryer. Where's Glenn? Glenn is right in front of me. Glenn, also for setting up everything. Glenn is our Director of Facilities. Okay, so with all that said, I would like to open the floor, and please, keep, for your own safety, keep your mask on, keep yourself socially distanced, and we'll just get started. And if you wouldn't mind just stating your name, and we'll let you start. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Dan Stockfield. Most of you know I'm all for communications, and I want to just commend the board and the district for the vast improvement in the communications that have happened over the past couple of years. It's just been tremendous, and like I said, I preface that, you know how I feel about that. The other thing, I just want to make a statement rather than a question because I know time's short. I would love to see, we would love to see perhaps in the district current events start being taught. All right, I don't know how that would be structured. I'm not an educator, but I know a lot of kids, they were clueless to some of the issues that have happened this year. And listen, there's a wide variety of things that can be taught, regarding social studies and history and everything. But I think that current events should definitely be considered and added to the list. It's not going to be easy because there's going to be certain, I would imagine, challenges with parents or whomever. But it's definitely something I think that the district should put on the list, the to-do list. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Just feel free to step up, just to stand up and share thoughts.
Yes, my name is Charles Jones, and my son is going into the 5th grade here. And I was just wondering, is there going to be a group put together to really come together and discuss what has been going on, unseen, untalked about, those issues that we might know that we have this thing that we say, oh, they're too young to know. Well, they know. They already know, and I think that they know we are hiding it. And I don't want what happened, what will happen is when they get together without adult supervision, the conversation gets distorted, it gets twisted, and everybody, because it's like, are there going to be groups that come together to discuss race relations, academic studies pertaining to African American history, the truth? I was kind of very disappointed with the month of February for my son, who goes, he would come home and I would be so enthusiastic just to ask, what did you learn about African history today? And I don't know, kids would say anything, but most of the days it was nothing. And one day I learned about the Chinese calendar, and I'm like, wait a minute, are you telling, were you paying attention? I went through 1,000 questions that a parent would ask his son, and I was like, just speaking to him a little bit. I'm in a biracial marriage, and he asked me a question. The question was, Dad, can I have white friends? He's 10 years old. And I was passionate to tell him, yes. I used a word in front of it, I won't use it here, but I was like, hell yeah, you bet it. I live in Putt Lake, and I just want to know, is there going to be some kind of, because guess what, it's time to talk. Look, statues are coming down, and everything that is happening, history is changing right before our eyes, and to be real blunt about it, who's going to tell them that they've been misinformed about some things already? And even as much as people like to give some of these statues that are coming down a lot of credit for what they did, but that ain't the truth. And I think that we know that. But are we willing to get into a position to sit down with the 10-year-old and present the history, the culture of everyone, the diversity? I really believe that diversity is our strength. Diversity is our strength. Because it just makes it all come together, and unity works so much better than when everyone is in a little side pocket with their own belief system, when we all have to come together for the kids. I'm okay, because I'm going to deal with whatever comes down the pipe, but my 10-year-old son, I think he deserves a lot more than what he's been getting. Thank you.
Thank you. And the answer is yes. We're going to talk about that at the very end. Thank you.
I'm Heather Osman. I have 2 kids here. I appreciate everything our community member has said. I echo it. I thank the board members for all of their good work. I know it's tough, and I appreciate the emails back. You don't need to. I keep writing anyway. But in addition to every single thing our community member has said, I agree, I reiterated it. I also urge the board to appoint a person of color and start to model what we need. And that means also have members that are attendants. You have somebody who is out a lot, and I'm sure there's a good reason, and I'm not here to judge, but I'm saying that at a crucial meeting, when I know this was hard, and there was nothing there, I deeply believe that silence is violence. That for me as a white person to not participate, to stand up and speak the words that Black Lives Matter, speaks volumes. I'm still hiding in that complicity. So I urge you to talk to your colleague, for all of us to think about how we're voting, and for the board to model that. Thanks.
Heather, thank you. it's nice to meet some of you too. I've emailed you, so it's nice to see you live in person.
Right.
Yes,
Hi,
sweetheart.
my name is Emily Sullivan. I'd like to talk about the curriculum.
Yes.
On June 19th, or in the days leading up to it, I was a little bit shocked because in all the years that I've lived in Brewster and all the years that I've been taking social studies and history classes here, we have not learned anything about Juneteenth. We learned nothing. We also, we go over Martin Luther King, but we didn't learn anything about Malcolm X. There's a lot of issues that we genuinely did not learn anything about, and the fact that my peers and your kids, the fact that we're undereducated about this it's not helping. That's the reason that that's part of the reason that we're raising a generation that thinks it's okay to be ignorant and to not understand. So the first step really to dealing with that is to make sure that everyone's educated properly, and we can't do that unless there are measures in place to ensure that they're being taught the important things, because this is important and we need to learn about it. Thank you.
Hi, I have a 10-year-old daughter going into 5th grade. Thank you all for sharing your thoughts. Glenn, I just like to thank you for your service. I'm also a public school educator for almost 20 years, not in Harrison. I think moving forward, we need to keep the word education in our forefront. The way to move forward is by educating ourselves, educating our students, and then also creating a safe place for students to speak and ask those questions, but then also, creating some sort of tolerance curriculum where teachers can learn how to have those difficult conversations in those classrooms and how to do it the right way. But I really do feel like as a community and as a school district, we do need a teaching tolerance and education program to make sure that the kids are learning history in all facets, and the history that maybe has been left out in addition to the current events that are happening. They're not too young to learn what's happening in the movement that is happening and the change that's happening now. And they're not too young to learn about the atrocities that have happened, in the many years, before us. So I just want to thank you for having this forum and allowing us to speak and be heard. And being silent is being complicit, and it's just no longer okay.
Can you tell me your name? I'm sorry.
Alyssa Pensa.
Alyssa, that's very nice to meet you. Thank you.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
Hey everyone, my name is Scott Lewis. I have 6 young boys currently in the district, 3 stepchildren. 1 stepchild is still here, 2 have already graduated in college. And I echo everyone's comments. One thing I want to hopefully stress to the board is that it's important to keep education in the forefront, but I believe that we need to do this objectively. It needs to be done without personal opinions being put through by teachers, by educators or administrators. I've had all 5 of the kids come home and tell me things that, a 7-year-old doesn't have a reason to lie to me. He's not looking for attention. And some of the things I've heard from him, 16-year-old, it bothers me sometimes when things aren't kept objective, when a teacher inputs their own personal side, whether it's from the left or from the right, it doesn't matter. This is a school where we want our children to have that exposure to all of the different facets of life, right? And the last thing I want to say is I think it's important for us to ask ourselves as a school district and as a community, do we want to teach equality of opportunity, or do we want to teach equality of outcome? Equality of opportunity teaches resilience, teaches us how to do things on our own, and teaches us to respect everyone. Equality of outcome teaches all of us that we can walk around with our hands out and just expect society to give us things, which isn't the way I'm raising my children, and I don't think it's what anybody here wants from their children as well. So again, we want equality of opportunity or equality of outcome. Thank you.
Scott, thank you. And one other thing I forgot to mention at the beginning, and I know that I don't need to mention this, but just if we can all just make sure that we respect other viewpoints, because it's important for us to hear everything. And sometimes I know it might be hard to hear different viewpoints, but it's so critical for us to do it if we're going to be able to teach our children. So thank you. Yes.
Hi, my name's Rob Rosenhaus. I have one daughter who's currently in the district and another who's entering the district in September. So, to your point, sir, equality, I say instead of teaching about equality, we talk about equity, right? Because it's not about, it's about everybody having what they need so they can be successful. Because not everybody has the same opportunities available to them in this world because of race, ethnicity, religion, all of it. Your social class determines your access to opportunities. So this is, instead of talking about equality, because it's not about equality in my opinion, it's about equity. It's about making sure that if I have more, I can give a little bit to somebody who has less. Give them what they need so that they can be successful. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just piggybacking
Sir, can you tell me your name? Can you tell us your name?
Myself.
Yes, please. Thank you.
As you can see, from the turnout, I have children within the district. One who was the president of his class for many, many years, but his voice was always silenced. He was never given an opportunity to implement things, to talk his mind. Whenever he approached a lot of the administrators, I'm going to speak at the high school. His voice was silenced. It was never heard. It was, we're taking care of that. Go back to your point. Treat it in a flippant manner, just like, we see that you're here, but we're handling things. He was the president of his class, and he was silenced. Other kids, I know a lot of other kids share the same thing. They don't feel like they have a voice. They don't feel like people are listening to them. They don't feel like people are concerned about what they're concerned about whenever they bring up topics, subjects. And I know I wrote to you about it before, is that I just feel that I'm glad to hear about this whole NYU program that's coming in to not only talk to the kids, but also talk to the staff and to the adults. Because I think everything starts at home and then so forth. And a lot of times, even though my kids did pretty well grade-wise, but they were silenced. They never felt they had a voice. They never felt they were seen. They never felt they had a confidant to go talk to and speak to about concerns, about issues. It started at the elementary school, but it just seems like it's so prevalent at the high school. That at the high school. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you.
I've actually heard about several of the students that said that. I know that the students were really excited about a lot of the ideas that they came forward with this year in the student council, like let's do parking spot painting, let's do, so many ideas generated, and they were like, nah, we're not going to do that, nah, we're not going to do that. And so a lot of those kids were really disheartened by their engagement with admin, and I'll speak to the high school. I don't have high school yet, but I heard that over and over again, that it's very prevalent, that they're like, hey, we want to do this, we want to do that, and they didn't feel heard. So I was wondering if you felt that that was a specific race thing, or if you felt that that was a kid thing in school, or maybe both.
Well, so my conversation kind of, I rationalized it as a kid thing, but truthfully it was a race thing. I know for a fact, without getting into specifics, that, one of my kids was told, don't hang out with that group because we're watching that group. So there's profiling going on at the high school floored me that, you know, administrators are looking at a certain pool of kids. And mind you, these kids, some of them got accepted to Penn, some of them got accepted to Cornell, University of Buffalo. I mean, these were kids that were moving and making things happen. And yet, you know, it was kind of like they were being profiled as that group, you know, and it was specifically a black group of kids.
Thank you. Thank you. Jamie, thank you. Sir?
One idea I had is for this coming fall, I think everybody's going to be on the edge of their seats as to how the students are going to be, you know, entered back into school, if at all. I realize that, you know, certain staff are on summer vacation. Is it perhaps possible that the district could post weekly updates just to keep us as informed as possible? I know that Governor Cuomo has a lot to do with the decisions that are happening too. We can't predict what's going to happen, you know, a month or two from now, but if we could get regular updates from the district that we know are coming, I think that would be very, very helpful. Just a short email or backpack or something, rather than us just hoping and wishing the whole summer.
Absolutely. And just on the reentry piece real quick, we will know from the state task force what the regulations are, hopefully by the end of June. Hopefully, as you know, that could be longer. We have to have our reentry plan into the business portal to the governor by the end of July. So yes, we will make sure that we continue to keep the community updated on everything. Thank you. Okay, any other thoughts you want to share with us? We want to make sure we get everyone's. Kristen?
Hello, my name is Kristen Kakal. Thank you for having this tonight. I just wanted to say thank you to the board, to the administrators, to the AAB and the BTA for your very thoughtful, articulate, powerful responses in regard to last week's event. I thought you came out and sent a message very clearly to students that they have a voice and that they are valued, and that especially if they are a student of color, they have a place in this community. I grew up in Brewster. It was very white. You could count on one hand how many black people, because there were no Hispanics growing up, you can count on one hand how many black people were in Brewster. It has since changed since I have come back, as you're all well aware. The racism has not. Let's be honest. The racism has not. Whether it has been done in a very overt manner or there's an undercurrent, it is very present. I would ask you, the board, the district leadership, the principals, to please stay the course with whatever action you plan on taking. For me, this is deeply personal. I have a husband, he's not black, but he is brown-skinned, he's Hispanic. I know what his life experiences are. I know that he's been called boy. I know that he's been told the only good Mexican is a dead one. I know that he was riding with a friend and stopped at a friend's house and walked in to see a big picture of the friend's grandmother dressed in her full regalia as the Grand Wizardress of the KKK. And I have never experienced that type of fear that my husband felt. That is scary for a person of color. I can't change his experiences, but I can advocate for my children who are brown-skinned. My daughter identifies as a proud brown Latina, and she is very vocal about that. Unfortunately, when she was 2 years old, I learned that she was a brown Latina because someone in Brewster said to me, "Isn't she the cutest little wetback?" Let that sink in. So I want to say to the people who are going to come and say, well, is it really race? Can we teach equity, equality, outcomes, opportunities? Can we look at residency verification one more time? How about the Dems and the Days driving in their Escalades? And forgive me for being a little bit passionate right now, because I am fired up. This involves my kids. So those that want to challenge and put up the front and try to knock this down, there is momentum on your side. My kids deserve better. The children of color in Brewster deserve better. Quite frankly, the white kids deserve better. They deserve to have an honest conversation about what it looks like. The adults may be too far gone at this point, But the kids aren't. It's about all the kids. I mean, let's be honest about that. And you know, for anyone that wants to question me right now, I'm going to leave you with this one question. As a white parent, what adorable racist nickname was your white child given as a toddler? Please answer me. Thank you so much for holding this, and thank you so much for just listening. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
My name is Charles again, and I appreciate every comment. And I heard some words, and one word that I haven't heard concerning our children is empowerment. For someone to feel empowered, their true culture has to be in them, and they have to understand it and love it, appreciate it for what it is, what has happened, good, bad, or indifferent, but also appreciate everyone else's. And in doing that, to empower one's child, it starts here. Does my son come home from school after looking through a history book feeling empowered? Does he? I mean, literally, does he? Or is the first thing that he learns in school is about a slave? When we know that that's not the beginning of many of our histories, it's not the heart. You know, the history in the school district sometimes starts at a focal point that's not really conducive to my son's empowerment. He already has a vision of what he thinks he is. But it shouldn't be that way. If it's going to be a change, it's going to be a change. Equity, empowerment, equality, all those things bring together a whole human being. Understand what I'm saying? A whole human being that can look at daddy and mommy, no matter how racist they are at the dinner table, and say, you know what? That's not what I am, dad or mom. And the movement that we're seeing now is a generation of kids that have made that decision. Whether you hate hip-hop or not, some of those kids love hip-hop that are out there protesting Black Lives Matter. The white kids. You know, if you look at any picture of the protest, it's a diverse group. And that's because of some shift in culture that everyone has said, you know what, I like to break dance. It's not just a black thing no more. It's a human thing. I like to do it. I like R&B. I like music. I like salsa. I like this. And we're going to stand up, because what is happening is that no matter how many times the parent tells their kids, don't hang with that group of kids, when he goes to school, he still gets an opportunity to hang with that group of kids, and he likes them. And he has to come home and dress up something just to be all right with mommy and daddy. So yes, the parents might have been lost in this cause because of their upbringing. I'm telling you this, since I've been living in Brewster, and I'm from Virginia, I'm from down south. So if you want to talk some stories about, you know, they just took the statue down in the community that I walk past every day, and looked at this statue and thought something was great about that dude on that horse, because I was taught that. And then as I continued to empower myself through self-education, because I wasn't going nowhere to learn it, I started to see that that statue didn't mean nothing but a lot of guilt and shame and pain to a lot of the people in the community. But the attachments that one has to their history is based in truth, right? But I think that when we talk about all the other E's, the empowerment of our children, to make them have a voice of their own, where granddaddy's ways ain't working no more. Even my granddaddy's ways ain't working no more. Because he taking stuff I'm not tolerating. You understand what I'm saying? He tolerated stuff I will not tolerate. Or will my son. I need to say this. My son has heard, and you know what, excuse the way I'm going to say it, but I say it for the nastiness that it is. My son has already heard the word nigger, and he's 10 years old. He's already heard that word in school. He don't hear it in my house. He's already, and I asked him, I said, well, where'd you hear that word? Oh, one of my friends. And I had to sit down with him and explain to him the nastiness of that word. I don't say the N-word, because I believe that the nastiness that it was created with, the group of people that say, let's change it, that's another political issue. It's a harsh word. So I will not dress it up and make it cute, because no other race has ever dressed up their oppressors' words. They say them for just what they are. So the empowerment of our children is going to come from these forums like this. Listen, acceptance is the key. And I'm saying this, I'm going to accept you for whoever you are. I don't have to like your views, your ways, or however you feel about whatever. But for the sake of my son, I will accept you for who you are. But I will not accept your views being pushed on my son, even the school system. Because if we look at the background from school systems, there is a racial divide in education in the history of a lot of things that happen. So we're going to, listen, I'm just here to work with people. I don't have all the answers. but I'm not going to be a part of the problem. You understand what I'm saying? And me coming here was hard for me. It was hard because I know that since I've been in Brewster, I've seen the rebel flags waving off the back of these trucks. I've seen it before the laws changed. You understand? And I know what that flag means. And I understand the history of it. And I was like, wow. I come from down south. I'm thinking I'm getting, but you know I'm okay. But to explain that to my son, to explain that to, you know, in a way where it's not going to make him come to school and look harshly at your child. You understand? I don't want him to come to school with hate for your child. I want him to come to school and appreciate the fact that he might learn something different today from your child. And it's not going to be bigger. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to be that. And so I'm real passionate too because it's my son. He wants to play. Look, I asked him, what was the hardest part about being quarantined? And I'm going to shut up after this because I can talk all night. Listen, I said, what was the hardest part? Because I was going through issues. I was missing work. I was missing my coworkers. I was missing my students I go to school with and the kids I work with. And I said, but I haven't asked my son, who's acting strange, you know, a little, you know, nippy. And so I asked him, I said, how are you doing just over the quarantine? And I found out that he missed being around his friends at school. He missed being around your kids. Let that sink in. He missed being around your children. He missed riding the bus with your kids. No matter what they are, I'm telling you, racism is a learned behavior. It's learned. It's learned, and if I say words that make you uncomfortable, I'm glad. We can still be friends because I'm going to accept you. Remember that. But I will not sugarcoat hatred. It can't be sugarcoated. Division and separation can't be sugarcoated for it to be addressed. So we are here starting something great. I hope it doesn't fizzle out like a sparkler. You know, a sparkler starts out real shiny, and at the end it burns out and it sizzles. It's a puff of smoke and it's gone. You throw it away and we move on. So I'm in it for the long haul, whatever I can do. If you don't understand something, I'm more than willing to do a PowerPoint presentation. I'm more than help. You want to know about Juneteenth? We can talk about it. You want to know about the history before slavery? We can talk about it. You want to know how I was miseducated as a Negro in America? We can talk about it. Because it's not going to happen anymore on my watch. It's not. You know, so thank y'all. And if I was too long-winded, you can edit the tape.
I think that was awesome what he just said, and it sparked another idea. I don't know what our limitations are regarding what we have to teach, because what the state says, and how much room we have for teaching something else. I don't know if anybody up there could answer that, but as I mentioned earlier, if we can have current events education and perhaps the stuff that we're talking about right now could be tied into our curriculum, I think that would be fantastic. And then one more idea would be perhaps instead of having and waiting for something special to happen, maybe we have a parents organization or parent student teacher organization that will focus just on these issues. That way it's not going to fizzle out. You like that?
I like it.
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
Oh, thank you. And we don't want it to fizzle out. And with every single public forum we have, whether it's today or Saturday or even moving forward, if we still need to continue the conversation, you know, we want to get you involved. So with every public forum, there's a call to action. So Dr. Gosh and I have been working, all of us have been working, and I have to let you know that the entire administrative team, all the teachers, everybody is very passionate about making sure we take care of all of our children. And I think someone said it so eloquently over there, race, ethnicity, gender identity, sexual orientation, every single child needs to feel that we are here for all of them. So we did reach out to NYU, and Dr. Gosh, there's no one better than Dr. Gosh at curriculum and instruction. I have been in 5 different districts. I've student taught in all different districts. I've seen incredible curriculums for people, but I've not seen a Dr. Gosh. She has put her expertise in this with also Dr. Harrington had this great idea for us to reach out to NYU. I need to give him the full credit. There's other districts that have it. I'm going to have Dr. Gosh just talk a little bit about our call to action for all of us.
Okay. So I hope you
microphone.
Yeah, sure.
So
Thanks.
there's wind and
I hope you don't misinterpret me speaking from the laptop as not being genuine, but I just want to make sure it's a pretty comprehensive approach that we're taking to this, and I just want to make sure that I don't miss anything and that I answer some of the questions that were posed. So first, I could start by telling you all the things that we are doing, but I think the right answer is that we're not doing enough. We need to begin this dialogue. We don't know where it's going to end up, but we need to do it. And all of our administrative team, we had that conversation a few weeks ago, and everyone is all in to begin. So here's some thoughts about what we are doing. And some of this was outlined in the letter, so I apologize if it's a repeat. So we did have a consultation with NYU last week, beginning of last week, and we talked about really a multi-pronged approach to this. So the first starts with administrative training, because in order for teachers to be able to lead these conversations in classrooms, you have to have instructional leaders in the building and in the district office that can assist with that and can help support and facilitate those conversations. So we are going to invest in administrative training over the summer in what's called culturally responsive sustaining education training. This is all research-based. It's out of NYU. They're actually an arm of the state education department. And we'll be covering things like, or not even covering, because covering is a different connotation. We'll be diving deep into topics like a common language around culturally responsive education and equity, and examining the role that social identities and privilege play in different contexts. So this is going to be 6 days, 12 half-day sessions, because they're pretty intense. Those will last over the summer and into the fall and throughout as needed. Later in the summer, what we're doing is what we call a root cause analysis. So basically, this is a really deep dive into our systems and our structures and our policies and our procedures and whatever data that we have available. So it's everything from test scores to our discipline data to the demographics of students that are involved in higher level courses, right? So it will also have a qualitative component, so there'll be parent and student interviews that are a result of this. And at the end of this deep dive, what NYU will do for us in consultation with us is help us create a multi-year strategic plan for equity. And that will be all based, it's not cookie cutter, it's all based on whatever story the data tells us and leads us to as we move forward. In Brewster, yes. Part of this work will be having an equity team. So we'll have, and some people, I believe over 30 people so far responded that they're in for this work, which is great. But there will be an equity team that will hopefully be facilitated by NYU, because I can facilitate meetings, but I don't have the skill set for this kind of work just yet. But again, we're building capacity internally to make sure that this happens long term. We also, to your point, Mr. Jones, we need to have a student component at all levels. What that'll look like K2 is very different than 9-12, but like you said, it's about letting students know that they can be active citizens and decision makers and be part of the solution. So that will also be a component. So, this is not, sometimes there's no quick fix to this, right? It's just a commitment to what we know that we need to do over time. But in order for, those are more sort of longer term outcomes. We're laying the groundwork and the roots in order for it to be able to, to bloom down the road. But more immediate work is with an organization called Facing History and Ourselves. And we've had them involved in the district for over 10 years in different fashions. But basically, it uses history as a vehicle to help students understand the world around them. And current events are part of that as well. What is sort of the line that's drawn? That's not always linear, but how does it all sort of work back through history? There's language of teaching students to be upstanders instead of bystanders, and asking them to think about, what is your circle of obligation? Is it just your family? Is it just your neighbors who maybe are in close proximity to you, or really like who do you feel obligated to act on behalf of? And what I really like about it is it's not an assembly, right? It's like it's a curricular approach, and it's critical thinking. It's asking students to look at multiple perspectives, and it's helping them really be informed about decision making. You said empowered. That's exactly it. They're empowered to make decisions about. It's not teaching them to think a certain way. It's teaching them to think, and that's really what we want to see. And we spoke with them this week as well. They have great facilitators. They're going to have, you know, speaking with Mrs. Horler and her team, and Mr. Clark at the middle school and his team. We're going to select curricular teams to make sure that in 6th grade, students have this concept that's reiterated and taught. There's common language all throughout. 7th grade, it's going to look like this. 8th grade, like this. This will take time, but there are seeds that can be planted now, again, in order to make sure we are looking at systemic change. And then looking, you know, 6-12, again, a common language, a common approach, a common sort of thought process to attacking these long-term problems. Can I keep going?
Yeah.
Okay. You know, we talked about re-entry a little bit. One of our subcommittees is on social emotional learning, and all this overlaps. If you look at it, you know, holistically and in a comprehensive way, one informs the other. So what we have talked about, you know, Mrs. Hernandez and Mr. Allen and I co-chair that team, and we've talked about it's all about relationships, it's all about connections, it's all about common experiences. So how can we make sure that when students, whatever September looks like, that their teachers know they care, students know that they have these shared team building, but shared community building experiences that are hand in hand with curriculum, but put social emotional learning at the forefront of what they're doing. They've been, you know, we've been physically apart for so long. We really need to be intentional about this planning, and we're doing that. I guess just some other thoughts. You know, we don't know, again, where this is going to lead. Part of the beauty of this NYU approach is that it will use our Brewster to help inform the next steps, right, and to make recommendations to us. But we know that this is work we absolutely need to do. You have our commitment that we need to get started, and it's going to get messy, and we're going to make mistakes. But it is our heart's in it. We know this is about all kids, and we want to make sure we do the right thing.
Thank you, Dr. Gosh. And we want all voices at the table. So if you want to join us in this work, please reach out to either myself or Dr. Gosh, and we'll make sure that when we get to that point, when we put the team together, that you are a part of that team. Yes.
I started 2 years ago. We had a witch hunt registration process, and I sat in for so there was a search for weeding out people that a lot of people in the community were convinced people were going here illegally. So I sat in on a task force meeting where parents, this was in the high school, I forget what room that was in, it was like the old extra media room or whatever it was, and parents were allowed, or nobody even said anything when several people talked about Hispanic people raping young children. And I want to make sure that while we can't change what parents think, that when these meetings are going on, that someone is able to stand up and say, no, don't say that in these meetings. I just want to make sure I hear that we're getting to the children, and this is so fabulous. So thank you so much for this. But if we can consider how we also work with the parents as well, to say we're not going to tolerate that kind of speech. I walked out and I was so disheartened, and I never participated again until most recently what happened. Is there any thought in as far as that goes? I'm sure there'll be more task force meetings.
Joellen, thank you for being here and thank you for sharing. And yes, absolutely. And I don't know if you were here at the beginning, but everybody has been so respectful to each other as we shared our thoughts, which is so critical because we all come from different walks of life, different experiences. So yes, absolutely. Thank you. Jamie? Yep.
Michelle, a lot of school districts are doing this. And so, one of the things that I asked is that, what is that collaboration? Because now we have all school districts spending money on curriculum. How can we better learn? How can we get that collaboration of being able to say, how does this happen? How are you guys handling this? And having that type of forum.
Can I answer that, Jamie? Michelle, and I don't want to step on your toes, but just let me, so first and foremost, NYU has this really great professional development specialty that we need. But with that said, and piggybacking on the question that you have, the entire lower Hudson region is working with the Northern Westchester, Putnam Northern Westchester BOCES. We are sharing ideas. They started an equity steering committee in the region, finally. There was a group in the last district I was in. It was called Schools United for Respect and Equality. It was a club that they had at the high schools in the entire region where I was working. So they are actually in the process of speaking to folks that started that in Gloucester County, New Jersey, and they want to try to start something like that up here. So that is a really good question, because that's where we need to make sure that we're sharing the pool of resources that are locally, and that we're not reinventing the wheel. So good, thank you.
And that they're getting best practices from each and every entity. So what worked great for you.
Right.
That we can
Perfect.
I think one of the other things I know earlier somebody said that they didn't learn about safety or other elements within the curriculum. I went here almost 30 years ago. I didn't learn about it. We learned about slavery and segregation. So I think it is the time, and I think that's pretty exciting. However, one of the things I think Jan answers were taught were that we're all equal. There's no differences. You're black, white, and this, and even at my corporation 15 years ago, that's how we treat everybody. Don't talk about race. Don't talk about it. And I think that company I work for has had a complete evolution, where friends of mine who would never have come out as gay or lesbian feel like they could come out. There's these business development groups that are representative of different races and religions and LGBTQ community. And it just really has opened it up. And so they've gotten so much better. They're amazing at diversity. What they're not great at, they just acknowledge, and they're changing, is equality and equity, which I think is a great acknowledgement. But, you know, it's an evolution. You have to understand that so many of us were like, don't take color. We don't talk about it. I just said to someone the other day, I was hearing, like, I'm going to have to sit my 10-year-old, my 13-year-old heard the N-word in 5th grade. I'm going to have to sit my 10-year-old or 12 August. We're going to have to go down and go through all the racial epithets and say, this is, if you hear this word, you can't say it. You want your buddy might have said it, now you think it's cool. And they're like, you know, he's this innocent, young, immature 6th grader or moving into 7th, and I'm like, oh, it's time. Here's the slew of it. And God only knows, I don't even want to go there with my 8-year-old, but like, that's the type of thing that we also have to do to be able to make them understand. We talk about race, but we don't talk about epithets, and they have to understand that connection of the two, so that they're not, you know, continuing on with a pattern that some other kids may have heard, whether it be music, culture, or whatever that is from the home. We have to start to be able to do that and address that in the schools, so that if the parents not doing that, they absolutely are getting some education about what is off limits and what you can't say and why.
Thank you, Jamie. I'm just going to go back and forth, okay? Yes.
So going off of that, I would like to talk about slurs. Specifically the N-word, but not limited to. I'm trying to be loud enough that everyone can hear me. So in 8th grade, it's a part of the English curriculum to read a book. I don't know if it still is, but when I was in 8th grade, it was part of the English curriculum to read a book called Warriors Don't Cry, which was about the civil rights movement. And, you know, the book was written by a woman who went through it. It was a black author. And there was a lot of heavy usage of the N-word in that book. And I know not just my white teacher, but everyone else's white English teachers found it necessary to say the N-word like every single time. You know, the way they explained it to us was, you know, we need to say it just to like really emphasize how bad it was. I know in the high school, some teachers have felt it necessary to read the N-word and Kill a Mockingbird. And, you know, I really feel like it's kind of important that if kids are seeing their teachers using these words, they're going to assume it's okay for them to. Even if the teachers are saying, like, oh, you shouldn't say this. Like, that's very hypocritical. You can't say, you shouldn't say this, and then go and say it 12 different times in front of 30 children. And not just that, queer slurs, homophobic slurs, that's also a really big issue, and I feel like no one likes to talk about that either. But I feel like there needs to be a little bit more of like a punishment for slurs. Like you could walk through the hallway and hear white kids yelling the N-word and like, you know, kids throwing queer slurs around and nothing happens. Like teachers walk past and they hear that, nothing happens. And that's like, that like to me is mind-blowing. Like you're not even doing anything about that. And on the one hand, I understand. What are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to say? Like, you can't say that word, but you need to, like, I feel like something needs to be in place. There needs to be punitive measures for that. That just can't happen. That needs to, like, that just needs to not be acceptable in the schools anymore.
Thank you. And that's why we need students on our, that's why I'm glad you're here. Yes.
I'm going into 8th grade, and I am concerned, really. Obviously the world is very politically divided right now, and it doesn't matter when or how we go back to school in September, I think that all of our students should know that no matter which way our teachers lean politically, that their views on students have not changed, that they do not see they don't see the black students any differently, or they don't see our Latino students any differently. And I think that's something that we should really talk about, because I was out the other day. I don't want people of minorities to look at me and say, oh, she's racist, she's white, she thinks that I'm, you know, this or that. And I don't. And I think that students should definitely be told that that's not how adults are going to behave, and that's not how anybody should behave, and that's what we need to do, and everybody is accepted and everybody feels accepted. And I think that's just, yeah.
Thank you. Go back over. Yep, sir.
I have a couple of questions for the board. So I'm just curious, who on the board has taken or been involved in cultural humility training, anti-racist training, equity training, any of that? Or is this all brand new for all of you?
Through my work, some, but not enough. And it seems like, you know, work or different organizations will do things in the moment kind of as required, not with the intention of, I think, what we're trying to accomplish here, which it shouldn't be required. It should just be that we, you know, as our students are saying it better than any of us, just we all look at each other as human beings, and that should just be what we work toward, that kind of understanding. So I'm thankful for this, and I know that I personally also want the board involved in additional training, because in our roles we should also have a deeper understanding for things that you don't know until you know. So yeah.
Okay, all right. So if you guys haven't been exposed to this, you're going to be really uncomfortable. There's no doubt about it. You're going to be really uncomfortable. The second question I have for the board is, you talked about doing a root cause analysis. To what end? What are you trying to find the root cause of?
So the way that it was explained to us and the way that we're approaching it is that it's letting the data tell the story. So it's not getting to any prescribed outcomes. It's saying, okay, this percentage of behavior referrals happen to be from this particular group. What are maybe some restorative practices that can happen as opposed to just disciplinary consequences every time there's. Is that sort of what you're asking?
Kind of. Look,
Okay.
I do this work for a living. This is part of what I do.
Oh, so we're gonna tap into you.
That's fine. That's fine. I do this is part of what I do. I do this in the child welfare. So, and we use root cause analysis all the time, but we have a hypothesis, and we're trying to figure out root cause. So it sounds like you're looking at disciplinary practices, educational outcomes. So you're doing a root cause analysis on a number of criteria. Is that accurate?
Yes, but what we like about this is that it's sort of a wide swath that is going to narrow down, right, as we look at more and more data. So, it could be something as simple as, look, the middle school math, when kids have are first into honors classes in 6th or 7th grade. What are sort of the systems and the barriers that we're putting up, and how can we make those practices more inclusive? Maybe I don't know exactly. That's sort of where we're like, we don't know where this is going to lead, but we want to make sure it's really comprehensive. We want to look at our code of conduct. Is it written in like student-friendly form? Is it, that sort of thing? And through that, we'll be able to have more defined approaches. We know there are issues. We don't know exactly what those issues are, but we want to make sure that we have a real foundation in order to move forward with a multi-year plan.
So we're really at the tip of the iceberg, so we're going to be utilizing NYU with folks like you that will help us, because you guys have that expertise.
And the last thing I just want to say is for everybody, just piggyback about how, I believe you're talking about your company having like this colorblind policy, right? We know that doesn't work. The first thing you see when you look at people is the color of their skin. And you're automatically forming your opinions based on how you've been socialized in this world. We all do it. It's implicit bias. If you have a brain and you're a human being, you are biased. You can't not be. Everybody has it. We're all complicit. All of us, no matter what color of our skin, we are all complicit in it. We're all socialized the same way. So we have to do something about it, right? And that's why being not racist is not enough. Not racist says, I don't behave in that really disgusting way, but I'm not going to stop somebody else from doing it. So you're allowing it to continue. That's why being anti-racist is necessary.
Yeah.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes.
Hi, I just have one comment. I'd like to thank whoever came up with those 7 trainings that we were assigned as a staff, and implicit bias was one of them. And I was like glued. I said, this is an assignment? I flew through them. I couldn't even stop. Can we have more of those as staff? I would love them. Those were awesome. They were awesome, I'm telling you. They had the cultural classroom. They had about the, gay, lesbian, the whole gender thing. And I learned, I thought I knew a lot. I learned so much from those. So as a staff member, I'm telling you that we need more of those.
You're a great PSA, Connie.
Thank you.
Thanks, Connie.
I have 2 more ideas to share. I was on a special education PTA with Kristen, and she remembers one thing I was definitely an advocate for is mental health awareness. One thing I've discovered through my research is Putnam County actually doesn't have a place to go, so to speak, for education or resources. But our district, apparently we are trying to provide that here. With our kids being at home the way they just were during the past 3 months, it's been very traumatic. I think the district would definitely benefit from adding to the to-do list, maybe even kind of nudge it upwards, is increased mental health and mental health awareness. Maybe look at revisit the resources that our students have, because some of the students are a mess right now. I can imagine if things don't go a good way over the next 3 months. I personally believe that a lot of the problems that happen stem from lack of mental health care. The other idea I have is I remember vividly that both my boys have learned a lot from the SROs in the school district, and with everything that's just happened with the police, nationwide, think now's probably a good time to, have the SROs involved in, promoting police, and police are a good thing. Let's educate them now, and it's a huge benefit to actually have police officers in our building. I know that my boys learned a lot from them in this short time that they were with them. So perhaps our district can put that on the to-do list also, because I think the police issue was really hot over the past couple months as well.
Thank you.
I appreciate the curricular assessment and possible changes, and I think that's a great place. I guess what I'm also hearing though is there's this space between what's accessible and what we can do, right, in terms of like concrete action. But then what I'm also hearing is, how do we move a whole district into the space of, I see you, I hear you. You know, we saw 2 board members take a huge risk a couple weeks ago to just put out statements. And I think that type of risk is what we're asking the board to do. It's different. I know that board moves as like a whole, right? But to have to break to be at the point to say like, I see this, or I see you, or I hear this, that this is what the problem is. It's admirable. It's unfortunate it had to come to that, but I appreciated it. On the other hand, I don't totally hear the space. And I'm not saying we have to figure it out now, and I'm more than happy to join any committee, but the space of I see you among each other, all of us, even in that little back and forth just now, I felt like, okay, this isn't we're trying to move past this. This is still not the space of compassion. And it's not, I teach too. I mean, it's not an easy thing to teach, but I'm thinking about how to model it. And I hope that the board and our educators explore other ways of being in the classroom. And it does mean new pedagogies. It is true, the old ways don't work anymore. There has to be a new space for pedagogical development and interacting with students in the place of a teacher with their students as all as learners. But that also is all of us too. I know it sounds like you're getting at that, but I think there is this emotional intelligence piece. I don't know much about mental health stuff, but that piece of I see you and you are like human like I am. And that's the piece I think that maybe we could work on.
Yes, thank you, absolutely.
We can teach empathy, and empathy, can be learned, and I think that's important, as we move forward. We can teach empathy.
Yes. And as you know, you're an educator, and it's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of work, and you got to see it in action. So we will. I'm glad you're going to join us. Kristen?
Yeah, Dr. Gosh, just to ask about what you were discussing about the work with NYU. Forgive me if I missed it, but did you say, after the initial deep dive of statistics and data, will you be looking to speak with kids, with teachers about personal experiences? Because I do think sometimes there's a power behind personal narrative. And, you would look at me and not know that my kid was called a wetback. But I opened myself, I shared it with you. For me, that is deeply personal. I think we need to put down the verbal arsenal of weapons as adults in the community, including myself, get off the Facebook pages, and maybe just take a step back, quite honestly, and just roll with this right now, because I think there's a lot of power behind this, and I think maybe if we listen to some of the students share their experiences, maybe the adults can learn something, me included, quite honestly. So, will there be that work?
So part of, and I'm sorry I was remiss in saying this initially, part of the work will be visits to each school to feel the climate. There will be student interviews, there will be parent interviews, there will be teacher and administrator interviews as well. So it's a full 360 on, okay, this is what the data is telling, but what does it feel like when I walk into this space, and through their research-based model, be able to ask questions that, would, I guess, lead to actionable sort of feedback that way. And you're so right about the student piece. The other day I had a meeting with a group of students at the high school about summer opportunities, and we talked about distance learning, and I'm like, this is where it's at. Like, we need to be having more of these feedback loops and be really intentional about it, because it was just the most rich hour of the week, and I think they have a lot to teach us. So, thank you.
Thanks, Kristen. Yes. Obviously, I can't speak on behalf of all students, but I feel like I have a general sense of the climate and at least my peers are feeling right now. And first, I'd like to say that you need to stop pushing the whole like human being, I don't see color narrative. Because if you say you don't see color, that is really erasing the privilege. That's erasing the systemic oppression. So you need to be able to look at someone and not say, I don't see color. You need to be able to look at them and say, I understand that this is either harder for you or easier for you. And I genuinely would be very happy to work with the board or anyone at any point on any of this, but I know a lot of students were very disappointed with the response from the board immediately following the events of last week, right? Yeah, the last 2 weeks. It really felt like people were paying more attention to what parents were saying, what the administrators were saying, than what the students themselves were saying. And that, I think, is kind of a problem, because, I mean, you guys are here for us, right? That's kind of the whole point of what you're doing here. So it's like, if you're not gonna, and I mean this this is like constructive criticism. I am not saying this like to be mean or anything. But like, it's like, what is the, I don't want to say what's the point, but what are you guys doing if you're not paying attention to us? Like, it's about us. I don't want to sound like, you know, selfish or anything, but it's about us. It's about the kids. It's about us. It needs to always be about us. It needs to not be about parents arguing on Facebook pages, or or it needs to not be about like this teacher said like this thing or whatever in class, and you know, like someone got mad about it. It needs to be about the kids. It needs to always be about the kids. It needs to be about us. It needs to be about our feelings, our opinions, and what is best for us. So I feel like that's kind of the way that a lot of people are feeling right now. We want it to be very clear that all of you are here really for us. So again, I would be willing genuinely to talk to anyone about this. But that is just kind of, I feel like, where a lot of us are standing right now.
I have a suggestion on that, what you're saying. We have these parent pages, and kids stay off of that page. It's not good. Just one. Can we do something like maybe with, you know, regulations, like a student page, where they could, so we could hear from the students? Because I'm telling you, it'd be a lot different than the parents. And maybe we could learn from the students. I mean, as a staff member, I would love that. I would, you know, definitely love it for something like that. It was a little joke.
Thank you, Connie. We're taking notes. We're taking notes on everything. Yes, hi, how are you? Welcome.
Thank you. Actually, it's my son's first year in booster anything, so we started here, he started in September, even though we lived here for 5.5 years, but I communicated to Midtown Manhattan, to his school. And so it's funny, I'm looking at everything and I can compare a lot. And personally, and I'm sorry, you know, coming late, I was at work, so I missed a lot. So if I'm saying something that's repetitive or that's already been, you know, talked about, then forgive me. But I agree with the young lady, the student that just spoke. I did like what you said in terms of let it being about students. But I also, as someone who is black, I don't know what the I see you thing, honestly, I don't know what that means. I see you. I don't know what the depth of it is, because I don't want anybody saying that I don't see color, because that's crazy. So now we're starting something on a false premise. And when you do that, it's not real, it's pretentious. So you don't really need that, because I see you and I see you, I see everybody. And I see you, if your hair is not like mine, I see you, and that's okay. The thing is about how about embracing? I embrace you. Just let me embrace you, accept you for just who you are. What is the fear about when you see this? My son, when we went out protesting on his poster, he had a very profound statement that said, when you see me and you see my skin, you see a criminal. When will you see me and just see me as a person, someone who, and honestly, I had no idea that that's what he felt like as a young black male. We talk a lot, but with a lot of things that's been going on, you know, the pandemic has been horrible, but honestly, at the same token, it has brought out a lot of things to the forefront. I'm glad that post was made on Facebook by a parent, because then it lets me see just where you really are. If you can be that bold and that crazy to put something like that out there, then I don't want my child a part of anything that's like that. So it disturbed me, and it disturbed me at the fact that when it was said that she couldn't even be removed because of whatever, First Amendment, all this kind of stuff, and I'm like, that's bogus, because for something like that, she should have been snatched down and sat down for something like that.
Precisely.
But it took force from people, which I'm grateful for, putting pressure on her to make her sit down. I have an issue with that. Now I'm saying, what type of school district is my son in? What is it now that, how am I going to have to be? How am I now going to have to protect Stephen? Because although where he went before, there were only 2 African-American boys, he went to an all-boys school, private school, in the whole grade. Did we face prejudice? Yes. But it was different than the feel up here, to be honest. I live on my block. I don't know my neighbors. I lived there almost 6 years. If they're sitting here, I wouldn't even know. Don't speak, don't do anything. So it's a different type of climate, hoping that when coming into the school, it would be somewhat different. But I can say that within the school itself, Stephen honestly does not feel a whole lot. It's there, but not a whole lot of the racial tension that will make him feel as if he doesn't want to go to school or anything like that. So he has friends. So, oh, I'm Spanish, black, white, he has friends. Yes, because he sees you. He likes the fact that my friend is Spanish, because I can learn from you. And by me being friends with you, I get to learn your culture, to understand. So, yes, I agree with you, the gentleman that says when we see everybody have preconceived notions, but the difference is that my preconceived notion now is not going to come at you maliciously. That's the difference. So the preconceived notions that when you see me or my fellow brethren, it becomes very different. And so you don't know. And to me, even though the school is trying to do something, there's very little that you can do, to be honest. Because if this thing is not done in the homes, everybody can sit here and say what you want to say. But I know the real deal, because when my kids interact, when the parents come to drive their kid to my home and you don't even want to stop in my yard to say hello, that's crazy. But yet you drop your kid off to my house. That speaks volume. And it says a lot. But you get here in the meetings and you say a whole lot of other stuff because it sounds good. My thing is that I'm okay. If somebody was to sit here and say, if I'm talking too much, let me know. I'll sit down. If somebody was to say to me, say in this meeting, yes, because I've had white people that have said that. I do feel a certain way. This is how I feel. And it could be negative. I'm okay with that. Then let us talk, because the bottom line is that if you've never gotten to know me, and when I say me, I'm speaking of black people, then you don't know. You're just going by what you see or what you hear on the news. There's a whole lot of us that go totally against the grain of what's being projected and put out there. But if you don't take the time, and everyone does have opportunity to get to know everybody, then I don't care what you try to do. Because whatever you are taught in that home, that's what you are going to bring in that school. When my son went to collegiate, from little kindergarten, those kids, they don't know anything about anything. Hugged him, embraced him, loved him. Things changed as they got older. He went there to the 8th grade, and I told him that it would, because the change has to take with the parents. So if it doesn't change in the home, I don't care what you do, it's not really gonna work. And that's how I, really feel. Thank you. Yes.
Hi, everybody. This is very hard for me to be here too, like you said, to come. My name's Tony Blarney. I'm Chris's ex-husband. And I've never been more confused in my life with everything that's going on. I know a few people here. You guys know me. You know my character. You know my integrity. You know who I am for the people who know me. I gotta say that this has been really hard. This was probably one of the hardest things me and my kids ever went through, and we didn't do anything. We didn't do anything. I'm here because, I really like what you said about you have that bias, that implicit bias, and it is there. And I was raised from my older generation, that old school Italian, and I hear the words and everything. And every time I hear the N-word, I gotta tell you, I cringe, right? I cringe. I hate it. And when I hear it on the radio and the music, I cringe. It's just, I wish they would stop doing it.
Agreed.
Everything I say, and Facebook has become the root of all evil with this right now. It really has. I can put on Facebook right now, babies are beautiful, and someone's going to say, no, they're evil. And you can't win, and you're not going to change anyone's opinion. I saw that with the Facebook post. But you're right, like, what the kids must think of us with this. It's embarrassing. It is really embarrassing. And like everything you said with NYU and all that, it sounds very technical to me. I mean, that's great. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah. But like, what I need is to hear your story. I need to hear what you said. Like that hits home. What you said about your son. That's what I need to hear. I need to hear real life stories and what people have been through. And I'm going to tell you right now, I am a divorced man for quite a while because I came out of the closet. Okay? So I know, and this is the first time I'm ever saying this on a community level. Sorry. Guess what? My workplace knows, my family knows, my friends know. And I always kept it out of community because this is Brewster. I don't want to be crucified. It's Putnam, And I came to Brewster because I thought it was traditional. I'm a traditional man, you know what? And God, I still go to church. I'm surprised the walls don't cave in on me, But there was a little progression there too, and I liked the mix. That's why I came here. I've been here for 20 years now. Am I racist? No, I'm not a racist. Have I made preconceptions about people? Absolutely, I have. Have I learned from my older generation? I think they're just crazy no matter what they say. They're just nuts. They're all nuts. But I worry about things also, and I'm not trying to down talk black or anything. I'm not trying, because you know what I did actually? Systemic racism. I can't say, how many people really know what that means? How many people really know what systemic racism means? I didn't know. I did not know, and I'm not saying, so I looked it up and I did research and I watched a cartoon, and holy shit, sorry, I get it. where it originated. Like, we need education. I need education. I need to be here and hear people. And you know what? I'm just putting myself out there right now. And the kids do need to hear from the adults. Maybe the kids need to hear, this is my story, okay? This is my story. This is what happened. You know what? I can't do what I want to do in this community because people look at you funny. Or I can't love publicly who I love because you don't know if a bunch of teenage boys are going to throw a bottle at your head. Or I can't, someone told me very close, you know what? I have a son who's a sophomore, going to be a sophomore. Okay? So I'm putting him at risk now because we haven't done enough with our kids, you know. But I'm told you better not have his friends sleep over, you know, like, because you might be accused of, you know, something. That rocks my world to hear something like that. That, you know, somebody, you know, you shouldn't have your friends, your son's friends over because people might accuse you of molesting them. What? This is, so I get it. I absolutely get it. And it sucks. And I don't, in my mind, you know, I don't fit the role of, you know, the queer or the homo or whatever you hear, because that's what they say. And she said, what you say in the high school walls, the slurs that go there, you're absolutely right. They should not be saying this stuff. They should not be saying this stuff. And I feel like that's, you know, that song, I want to change the world, but I don't know what to do. And I don't know what to do. And you know what?
Mr. Brody, thank you so much.
And listen, I appreciate what everybody's been through. This has been traumatic on all of us, on a serious level. And no one's paid the price more than my kids right now. I can tell you that. And they didn't do anything.
So what can we do? It's up to all of us together. And
We have to be the adults, and that's the and we can't attack on Facebook. Facebook is just, oh my God, I see what people write, and I'm like, and I try to be genuine, and I try, it doesn't work. I don't know what more I can do, you know. And now I'm nervous about what the aftermath of all this is, right? Everyone say hello to Rich, you know. It's like, I don't know what the aftermath of this is, and what repercussion this is too. You know what? It's yes, AJ had 2 dads. You know, it's like, come on.
okay.
Maury, can I just?
Yes, please. Glenn Niles, one more.
As you guys know, I'm going to be off the board, but my passion is still there to support the kids. And I'll give you a little correlation. You said you want to hear stories.
Yes.
Right? Empowerment, I take that word is buried in me. I mean, when you said it, it just gave so much chills inside of me. But I'll take you back November 26, 1988. I was 17 years old. I'll never forget that day, and I'll tell you why. I got caught with a bunch of friends. We got caught up in a stolen car, which I wasn't totally aware of. One of my friends made a swerve on the road, and the cop was passing the same time as the rule. They picked it up, and they turned around. He jumped out of the car. Everybody jumped out of the car. I tried to jump out the passenger side. It was locked. I couldn't get up because that's the way they entered into the car to steal the car. I had to go to the driver's side. So by me doing that, they nailed me as the driver. I panicked. I'm a 17-year-old kid. I have very strict parents. My nationality is West Indian, and you can tell what I was going to get. I ran. The 2 cops that got out of the car, they didn't catch me because I was an athlete at the time. But as I jumped the fence and I got across to the other street, they were waiting there barricade. Now I'm going to give you a little history. I got caught here. The precinct is over at Wells Middle School. They caught me and my friend, put us in the car. They took us down to 161st Street Central Brooklyn while beating us all the way through. They didn't take us into the building at all. They brought us back up, brought us into the building. But before I tell you what happened, here are some of the things that happened to me. I was getting upset. I know we did wrong. I openly admit that. We did wrong. But as I turned to the cop and told the cop, why are you hitting on us like that? Here comes a nightstick on the side of my face. Busted it open. 5 stitches on the inside, 10 stitches on the outside. We got out the car. He turned to me, he turned to his partner and said, do you want to see how high black boys jump? My hands was handcuffed to the point where it was going to explode. Handcuffed completely. As he put pressure on it, I literally had to jump to avoid the pressure on my wrist. okay? We got into the station house. He told the desk clerk that in pursuit, I jumped the fence and my face got caught. I turned to that person at that time. Now, this time I wasn't thinking this. I was all panic and fear. I was more concerned about what my parents were going to do. And I turned to him and I said, that's not the case, your officer. He hit me with his nightstick, okay? Denied it all the way through. Here's my scar that I live by, okay? This scar will never go away from me, okay? What saved me, and I was a starting quarterback going into my senior year in football. What saved me that day, when I went to court, I was looking at 10 years, probably 5 years probation, because I was identified as a driver. The car was out of Scarsdale. It was a doctor's car. Okay? First time I've ever been in any situation like that. What saved me, my dad came in from work with his transit uniform on. My uncle came in with his police uniform on. The attorney, the lawyer was a help, what do you call him? Public defender. And he was a Jewish public defender. He turned to my parents, he turned to my father and my uncle and said, "You guys work for the city?" He said, "Don't worry about it. I'll take care of this." When we got to the hearing, my case was dismissed and my case was expunged. I've always been good. So when I tell you when I'm passionate about kids, I don't want them to go down the road that I've gone down. Whether they're black, whether they're white, whether they're Chinese, whatever. When I coach these kids, there is no color, there is no discrimination in it. They're just a team. You are my brother, that's it. If I get punched, you help me, okay? There's no color to discriminate against that, okay? So when I tell you that I do everything possible, you say the word kids, you say the word children to me, I'm all born. I'm gone. Because I don't ever want to see a kid go through that experience that I've gone through. Police brutality that I went through wasn't as close as what George Floyd gone through. He's lost his life. But I've gone through it. And it's not a pleasant experience. When I got home, I literally that night, we had to literally stay. We got caught on the weekend. And as a rule, the weekend you can't get out because you don't see a judge till Monday. We literally was 3 of us in the cell with an adult man. We had to take turns sleeping because they make you take your laces off, they make you take your belts off. They forgot to take the belt away from the man in the cell. So we literally had to sit and take eyes on each other to make sure this man wasn't attacking one of us. That's how scared we were. So I just want you guys to understand, when you say empowerment, it's about the kids. They are the ones. This is their time. We've had our time. The problem is it's not the kids, it's the parents. We have to grow up. We have to respect it. I'm not asking you to be better than you and get your money, what you got, and get your wealth right now. I'm just asking you to respect me like how we want to respect you. That's it. It's no greatness about that. It's just my value is when I walk down the street, I want to be confident that this person looks through me for the better person that I am, not the person of a color that you've already judged before you even said hello to me. Okay, so I just wanted to share that story with you guys because you get a concept of why I am so involved in this community. I came up here in 2003, and as a young man, probably some of the other black couples that are here, I've been up here in 2003, and I only had about 2 black couples that was up there at this time. And it was all white, like Kristen said. It was all white. And my son went through it. I saw it. And I got into coaching, and I had to help separate that. But it's part of this. This is part of the problem. It's not our kids. It's racism is taught. Yeah. It's taught. It's not about a kid being born with that cell. There's no such thing as a racial intensified cell. There's nothing like that. It's a person being taught. Being taught. My parents, who were colored, my grandmother on my father's side, may she rest in peace to this day, she used to tell my father, "When are you bringing over your piglet kids so we can see them?" This is my grandmother on my father's side, who was black. Understand, it is not. It's how you teach these kids. And she's 100% right. We've got to listen to the kids because they deserve it. They deserve it. This is their time. We've had our time. We've got to make a better place for each other and make it better for them to be successful in life. We've got our career path set for us. They're looking to find themselves, and we need to help them. So I wanted to share that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Glenn. Thank you. So I wanted to make sure everybody had a chance close out and make sure that, you know, we're moving forward together and we get everything on the table. Yes, sir?
I just wanted to, no one here would disagree on what happened to you back there. It was really wrong. I've been a law enforcement professional for 21 years. And I don't need somebody to tell me when I was going through my academies and my training centers that that behavior is wrong, or that, you know, what he said was it's a respect thing. And you didn't tell that story to bring folks to yourself. You brought it out so that we can all understand that it is for the children. So I'm going to ask Ms. Goss, what is the end point, what is the outcome that we're hoping to get? What is the mission statement that NYU is going to provide to the Brewster Central School District that I'm sure if there is something tangible that is passed to the students and that the children learn from, then I don't think you can put a monetary amount on that. But if this is just a study to make us feel better, when all we can do is talk to each other and say, hey, this is a respect thing. I don't need NYU or some professor with 30 years of reading books and teaching out of books without actually dealing with the public or dealing with interpersonal relationships to say, oh, well, if Brewster does this, then all is better. Because all won't be better. It needs to happen here, and this is the groundwork for what's moving forward. So if we get some 30-page document at the end of this, $500,000 later, what good is that if it doesn't get past the students, and if it doesn't give us the outcome that I think we all here can achieve without it?
Do you want to add anything?
Yeah, sure. So just my reaction to that is that, you know, we can create experiences for kids, and we can, you know, this was probably the most powerful, you know, we've had a number of experiences in Brewster, and this was, I think, one of the more powerful ones, in my opinion. And this is the kind of dialogue that we need to have in a respectful way as adults in order to mirror that for our kids and to start these conversations in the classroom. So, Mr. Lewis, my answer to your question would be, you know, I don't know what the outcome is. I don't know what the steps are going to be in order to get to, you know, this place. But I know that what we need to do is we need to make sure that every student feels valued, every student feels heard, every student feels like as though they belong when they're in Brewster. And because it is a systemic issue, and we're no different in Brewster than in any other town throughout America, right? So because of the systemic nature of it, we need a systemic approach to make sure that we have a way forward. And so that we can create these experiences, and the sustainable part for me and the systemic part for me is what the value added of NYU and that approach would be.
Kristen?
Yeah, just very briefly, I would like to say thank you. Again, I know I said it at the beginning, but thank you for taking this on, because I do think the road will probably get bumpy. But you know, it's if it were any smoother, we wouldn't be here. So, and I would also like to thank Mr. Niles for sharing that very deeply personal story. I think if there's any takeaway, it's that there's no problem with white people simply saying, I acknowledge that I don't know what it's like for a black person, or a brown person, or someone who is gay. So, that being said, thank you for sharing that. It was powerful, and yeah, again, appreciate it, Dr. Gosh, that you looked into this, because, you know, again, if we weren't in a better situation, we wouldn't be here, and the adults could solve it in just a discussion. We wouldn't need NYU, but clearly we do. So, please stay the course would be my last comment. Thank you.
We have lots of work to do. Hopefully we can all do it together.
Just one final thing. It's an old song that I remember from my time. I'm 65, so I went through the whole race thing, you know, John F. Kennedy, God bless him. That was fine. You got to be taught to hate and fear. You've got to be carefully taught. That's the whole problem right there.
Thank you, Connie. Jamie?
I just want to pivot for a second to another topic as we're wrapping up. The extended school year before special ed kids. I didn't read the full letter, and so
school. And we have extended school year that was approved, and I just realized today that it is virtual. And as soon as I saw that, I'm like, I'm not going to put my kid in it because I'm not going to torture him with more distance learning. And, you know, one of the things, and I've said this to the board so many times, that, you know, it's so important to have that constant feedback, you know, and I always encourage you guys to do surveys for a number of things. And I just thought, you know, what communication and survey did we talk to these parents? So some kids, special ed kids, are hanging on and doing okay. Others are falling apart. I talked to a mother who has a kid with Asperger's. His learning is awesome. He's done every single assignment. He has zero social interaction. He is falling apart. And I just think we talk about mental health, we talk about our children and the importance of that, but I just think that there needed to be more engagement with the parents of special ed who qualify for extended year services to really understand what are the detrimental effects of these kids being in quarantine and these kids having already lost so much time in the classroom. You know, it's such a small population, we could have been able to divide them up. You know, I talked to a special ed teacher just today. She's like, yep, I could put one there, one there, one there, one there, and it would have been fine. And to make that decision without talking to the parents, some of which are hanging on by a thread because to have their special ed child home 24/7 is so exhausting and really challenging for them. So I just think that too, you know, this wasn't open forum for other topics as well. That too is just such an incredible decision to make when there are so many of these kids that are in bad positions in distance learning.
So Jamie, thank you for sharing that. And I want to go back first with the survey piece, and I think it was mentioned up here. We are definitely going to be sending out surveys to the community, hopefully at the end of June and also in July as we plan for re-entry. So we make sure we find out like how many of you are going to let your kids come back to school. And as you know, every day it changes. The announcement for ESY came as a surprise to everybody across the state and the governor because schools are in phase 4. And you're right. Next time, you know, we definitely need to survey. You are absolutely right. We go by the guidance of our school physician, Dr. Casaro, who I have to say is fantastic. I know you've seen Dr. Casaro. We have an excellent school physician. I've been in 5 districts. I've seen school physicians throughout the region giving advice to my colleagues. He's been excellent. The safety of the students and staff was paramount. He told us it was not safe. So yes, we definitely next time we should survey. We are going to survey for the re-entry, but you know, we had to do that in the best interest for our most fragile population. And Putnam, Northern Westchester, BOCES had done the same thing. So, but we hear you. Thank you for sharing that. Is there anything else that anybody wants to share? I want to make sure that you leave here feeling that your voice was heard. It's so important to all of us. I didn't know if any of the board members wanted to add anything before we close. I think, Glenn, thank you.
You're welcome.
Just thank you everyone for coming and for being willing to share. My biggest concern was that people wouldn't come and take that risk. I've been on the board a little while now, and I've seen us stumble along the way, to put it nicely. And this was yet another, I guess I'll look at it as an opportunity for us to tackle some difficult issues. And I think it's important that we continue to do that work. And I'm just so grateful for everyone who showed up and was willing to share. And we are listening. And you know, we're going to go forward together in a positive way. So, thank you.
I think we have one more.
I have to say one thing. I am disappointed, not because of all that was said here and the sincerity, the honesty, and the courage it took for people to say it. I'm disappointed at the turnout, to tell you to be quite frank. And if you're going to have a turnout this low, then you have an issue to work with in the rest of the parent community. may want to think about investing some time and effort into actually working towards engaging other parents.
Thank you for mentioning that.
Can I just add something to that? Because I thought of that also.
Yep.
Can I just make a suggestion? As in, to be open-minded. Let's see what happens after Saturday, just in case a lot of people couldn't be here because they're working. I'd like to think that. Call me naive, but maybe after Saturday, we see how the results are then, because it'd be easier for some people to get here.
Yeah, and actually some folks did email me just so you know and say they couldn't make it either day, but they're going to watch it on live stream. They apologize for not being here to all of us because they know how important this is to many of us.
And we do have about 40 to 50 people watching this
Okay, great.
on Facebook.
That's great, Jim. Thank you.
I just have one quick, I'm sorry.
Yes, go ahead. Please.
With the distance learning, are they going to interject Zoom? Because I really felt that would have been a great thing. Just not sending my kid work, just to do. And every school, I'm really about education. So I'm scouting around and looking and especially from where he came from. So I didn't want him to lose a lot of ground from what he was getting. And it was basically making him lazy. So now I kind of have to stay up on him. But there was no teaching to me. That's how I looked at it.
I'm glad that you mentioned that because I have to say, Mr. Tabor and Dr. Gosh have been hugely instrumental in letting our teachers know, and they are totally 100% on board. I'm thrilled with our BTA that we need to step it up. I mean, we were able, this district compared to other districts throughout the country, was so ready because of all the great things all of you have done long before I ever got here. So they were ready, but can we do better? Heck yeah, we will, and we will continue to do that. And the teachers are, if we have to do a sidebar memorandum of agreement with the teachers, if we end up, God forbid, not being able to come back, we need to make sure that we're delivering that.
Because I sent them emails, each one, my teacher, and none of them seemed as if they were really interested in doing that, or I'm suggesting. I'm like, what is happening? Because
their leadership is listening. Leadership is listening. So I'm glad that you said that.
Left a sour taste in my mouth, but thank you.
Yes. Dr. Gosh?
Yeah, just that we have, that's another subcommittee, the teaching and learning, and we have said, that's a not, well, it is negotiable, but a non-negotiable when it comes, we need more synchronous learning, and we need a set schedule, and we need to approach it differently if we do have to go back out, so thank you.
And if you leave here, and if there's something you forgot to share, please send me an email, and we will make sure that we answer you. If there's something that's personal to you that you didn't feel comfortable talking about here, send it to us. We'll talk to you about it. We want to make sure that everybody feels their voice is heard, and we will continue this work. It is not going to stop. It should never stop. And we have lots of work to do. The insights that all of you have given all of us tonight were critical. So thank you. Thank you so much for taking your life into your hands and coming out this evening to social distance with us. We wanted to see you. It was so important to the board to see you. And thank you.